Bonjour, welcome, bienvenue. I'm Alan Davis from Small World Music. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome all of you here for our Artist Spotlight as part of Global Toronto 2020. It's a hot day in Toronto. I hope it's nice wherever you are. And it's a great pleasure for me to welcome some wonderful artists to Spotlight here. It's MÉLISANDE and ÉLECTROTRAD. So we have a couple of minutes to talk before we hit some videos with you guys. It's a very unique mixture of music, something that really stands out and I think is quintessentially Quebecois. We'll talk more about that later. But certainly the combination that this group has of traditional Quebec music, folk music, and rhythms combined with contemporary electronics and a very modern approach with some crazy costumes, as I've seen, I think has a very, very unique elements to it. I guess we will talk more about some of those details later, but I think that some of the fascinating aspects of this group are the fact that they're very dedicated and devoted to tradition. Clearly, they've expended a lot of effort to make their music based in deep roots of Quebecois music, but making it very, very contemporary as well. The term future folk has been used to describe them, so I think it's very apt. We have MÉLISANDE and Alexandre, and you guys are talking to us from Montreal, is that correct?
From Belleuil, it's the most beautiful suburb of Montreal.
The most beautiful suburb.
The most beautiful suburb of Montreal.
Beautiful. Well, Montreal is a wonderful place to be at any time of the year. Well, maybe not so much winter, I think. It's summertime is better.
Actually, I would maybe take a little winter.
Yeah, it's been pretty warm. Well, we're going to catch up more with you very shortly, but in the meantime, we're going to showcase some of your music by video. Are we ready to roll with that?
Un pommier chargé de fraises. Je l'ai pris, je l'ai secoué, il tomba des framboises. Mon tombeau sur l'orteil me fit saigner l'oreille. M'en retourne à la maison en boitant du bras gauche. Nous ne boirons pas seulement de l'eau, oh, oh, oh. Nous ne sommes pas des oiseaux, oh, oh, oh. Nous ne boirons pas seulement de l'eau. dimanche au soir en m'en allant veiller. Dans mon chemin rencontre une fille éplorée.
Maman chantait à journée longue. Puis moi, ben, comme j'avais bien des cousins puis des cousines qui se mariaient, on allait à des mariages. Et puis les mononcles, ben, quand ils avaient pris un petit verre, ils chantaient. Puis moi, ben, comme je voulais apprendre les chansons, quand je les avais entendues, je m'en allais dans un petit coin pour essayer de m'en rappeler. Oh, j'ai le pied mal fait, j'ai le pied fait sur le camp, j'ai le pied fait sur le camp, oh ma dondaine, j'ai le pied fait sur le camp, oh ma dondée.
J'ai le pied fait sur le camp, oh ma dondaine, j'ai le pied fait sur le camp, oh ma dondée.
J'ai le pied fait sur le camp, oh ma dondaine, j'ai le pied fait sur le camp, oh ma dondée.
Ma cuisse grinçait, mon genou roulant, ma jambe arlinguette, ma cheville par en dedans. J'ai le pied mal fait et puis j'ai le pied fait sur le camp. J'ai le pied fait sur le camp, oh ma dondaine, j'ai le pied fait sur le camp, oh ma dondée. J'ai le pied fait sur le camp, oh ma dondaine, j'ai le pied fait sur le camp, oh ma dondée. J'ai le pied fait sur le camp, oh ma dondaine, j'ai le pied fait sur le camp.
Catharinette a les pieds sur le camp, Catharinette a les pieds sur le camp.
Catharinette a les pieds sur le camp, Catharinette a les pieds sur le camp.
Les pieds sur le camp.
Catrinette a le pied sur le camp, Catrinette a le pied sur le camp, Catrinette a le pied sur le camp,
Catharinette a les pieds sur le camp.
le pied sur le camp, Catrinette.
Il fallait se lever de bonne heure, traire les vaches, aller à l'école, revenir à midi, chercher les vaches au champ, traire les vaches, soigner les animaux, faire les devoirs, souper, aller se coucher. Trinquons ma commère, nous le pouvons bien, nous le pouvons bien. Nous le pouvons bien, nous le pouvons bien. C'est pas la bière qui manque, oh, 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 oh. Nous en avons bien, train, train, train. Demain je m'en vais me lever long là, mardi je reviens. Demain je m'en vais me lever long là, mardi je reviens. C'est pas la bière qui manque, nous en avons bien, nous en avons bien.
Trinquons ma commère, nous le pouvons bien, nous le pouvons bien. C'est pas la bière qui manque, nous en avons bien, nous en avons bien. J'ai monté dans un arbre pour mieux voir au loin, pour mieux voir au loin. J'ai aperçu un moine, oh, 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 de verre à la main, train, train, train. Demain je m'en vais, malgré l'an là, mardi je reviens. Quand les hommes sont aux vignes, di-di-di-dam-dam, da-di-di-di-di-dam. Quand les hommes sont aux vignes, di-di-di-dam-dam, da-di-di-dam-dam. Quand les hommes sont aux vignes, di-di-di-dam-dam, da-di-di-di-dam. Quand les hommes sont aux vignes, les femmes boivent le bon vin. Et lorsque le monde est malin, et lorsque le monde est malin, d'apprendre aux oiseaux le latin, tintin, soirée, tintin, soirée, soirée, tintin, tintin, soirée, tintin. D'apprendre aux oiseaux le latin, tintin, soirée, tintin, soirée, soirée, tintin, tintin, soirée, tintin. La prendre aux oiseaux le lapin, soirée, 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 J'avais une bouteille qui est pleine jusqu'au bouchon. J'avais une bouteille qui est pleine jusqu'au bouchon. Je lui donne une tape, je fais sauter le bouchon, le bouchon. Je lui donne une tape, je fais sauter le bouchon. Je lui donne une tape, je fais sauter le bouchon. Après 2 ou 3 verres, eh bien nous chanterons, chante la 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 la. Oh. Après 2 ou 3 verres, eh bien nous chanterons. Après 2 ou 3 verres, eh bien nous chanterons. Et rendu au matin, les garçons balayeront. Bibon bon que le vin est bon, camarades buvons.
And we're back live at Global Toronto 2020 with Mélisande. That was some compilation videos showing some of their material, giving a good sense of the electro-trad style that these guys have pioneered. So one of my initial impressions seeing some of your recent videos was you're not exactly shy, are you? I mean, wonderful costumes, the in-your-face, music. It's very bold and as I say, not shy. How do you conceive of yourselves in that sense?
Well, I was always very out there when I started to sing. I was 14 when I started to do stage music, and I had this craziness with costumes and everything. And with time, I kind of had a bit lost that. And with Les Myriades, I had this urge to go back to this essential, which is me expressing myself. And Alex was like that as well when he was younger, having some pieces of costume. And I figured, like, if there's a place where we can express ourselves this way, it's on a stage. And we have the chance to be able to do that job and to be able to express that craziness and to be able to get the kids to school dressed normally, but to have this craziness out there. So I was really I was really wanting to find this thing back. I missed it a lot. So.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the theatrical aspect is a lot of fun. How did you arrive at this merger of electronica and Quebec folk music? Because it seems on the surface of it, it might not be something that one would immediately think of. It's a very different pairing.
Well, for me, I was grown up in traditional music. My dad, Gilles Garand, organizes a folk festival, and he's really into traditional music scene in Quebec. So I grew up in that style of music, and pretty early when I was a teenager, I was also into urban music, playing funk and early hip-hop in Montreal, and I had orange goggles and everything. But I also had a traditional music band, so I was already into fusing traditional music with other styles. In the 90s, and I was really inspired by bands from Scandinavia, like Garna and Garmarna and bands like that were doing that kind of mixing of style. But then I played with Gentikorum for 15 years, which was more geared toward more traditional sound with a little touch of modern aspects to it as well. And then I met Mélisande, we became lovers and parents and a married couple and everything. But I was playing, I got back to playing bass, accompanying her with her original songs. And then we thought, well, let's try to mix our universe and do really the electro-trad.
Because I didn't know anything about traditional music when I met him. I was more into progressive music. And if you think about it, reels is really close to arpeggiators, like the in that you find in electronic music. So it's actually a very natural match. I think.
I was going to say the one thing that certainly stood out for me was the rhythmic pulse is very strong in both those aspects of the music. I mean, it's very, very danceable and propulsive.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of common aspects. So we try to mix these common aspects in a creative way with a bunch of, like for every album, we have different musicians or different team around us that help us create a final result that we like, and it's always evolving, and we're very happy with the
I was going to say also that you've maintained a live band. I mean, you don't want to go entirely electronic. It's important for you to have live music behind you, obviously.
Yes, yes. We had at the beginning we didn't have a drum, and since I'm more from the rock scene, I was really missing having a drummer behind me, like, you know, playing loud and everything and rocking the scene. So rocking the stage, I was like, oh yeah. And so for Les Myriades, for Les Mélisandre, actually, our second album, we brought back a live drummer, and it's very important to have a live fiddle, and Alex plays flute, and I play jaw harp. So when we all sing, it's important for us to have this thing where we actually can do duo shows where, you know, we put the fiddler and the drummer in the box, but it's not as fun.
It's actually a good that's a good point, because it can be very advantageous for artists to be able to have different configurations where you have something that is more mobile, more touring or easy touring, and frankly for a presenter can be more affordable, that, you know, they may be able to say, well, I can't buy your whole band, but I can buy your duo or trio. Is that something that kind of flexibility is helpful?
Yeah, we did play a gig as a duo this winter, and it went really well. And we did some trio gigs, but like we tried to go toward like main stage gigs where it's nice to have like the full band and even sometimes a breakdancer. And so we tried to put on like more a show that will be for a big stage, but we're very flexible as well.
I guess, well, being flexible is something that's frankly necessary increasingly these days, with, you know, you have to be able to take opportunities as they come. We were talking about how this is sort of quintessentially Quebecois. I mean, obviously the roots of the music, but also the sort of that juxtaposition. Tell us a bit more about the recent recording process you went through, and the research and the traveling you did to actually explore some of these roots.
Well, what we did for the last album was to go along the Richelieu River banks, which Richelieu River is right next to our house. It's a block away from where we are now. And we did that from Lake Champlain to Fleuve Saint-Laurent. So it's a long stretch of the river, and we went to every village and every town, and we looked for elders to see if some of them had songs, traditional songs, to sing to us. And we met, like, this project was over a year long, and we met people, we recorded them, we interviewed them, because they had a lot of things to say also about their life, like back in the days, how was life for them. And they were really touched that we had interest into what they had to say, and we took some of these songs, we chose some of these songs to record Les Myriades. It was really 8 songs that were signed to us during that project.
I was going to say, what was their reaction? They didn't think you were crazy. Who are these crazy people?
They were surprised. Some of them were like, well, what do you want from me? You know, like, they were suspicious. They were thinking that, like, we wanted to take advantage or make a lot of money on their back. We're like, oh, if only you knew. That's not about that. So, but we became friends with most of them. Some of them call me and they're like, oh, how are you? And I'm doing my touring of phones and blah, blah, blah. And so we became friends with most of them. And some families listened to the result, and they were like tearing up, saying, oh, this was grandma's songs, and this is now on this crazy album with these people doing that weird music. But they like it because the beat is there and the melodies are there. That's what we don't, we keep the nature, the root of the melody, so they recognize the song. So for them, they can still sing the song and they know the song. So they're very, very proud of that. And that was something we wanted to put in front. It was like, it's their heritage, like it's their thing. We just use it, but it's coming from them. And
it's like raw material that we use to create the music, but we keep the essence of the traditional songs.
Well, that's actually a beautiful story, isn't it? How these people, you know, you're reviving their tradition, and initially maybe they're a bit reluctant or wary, but then when they see actually the results, they see what a great thing that it can be. That's great.
Yes. And it's surprising how they like the electro-trad, because you would think it's maybe not of their time, but they like it.
And it was a good thing to do that before the lockdown, because
Yes.
we couldn't do that project anymore for a while.
Well, yeah, I mean, speaking of the lockdown, I mean, obviously the reality with the pandemic has meant no touring, very limited options. What kind of blow has that dealt you, and what do you see in the future trying to cope with it?
It's hard. It's hard to see the future right now. I would say we hope it's going to come back. But our summer was a really great summer with great touring. That was our best summer so far. So for us, it was a big thing to deal with. To be like, okay, well, this is not going to happen. And there is a momentum. We hope we're not going to lose it all. But there was a momentum of releasing the album in September and touring the next summer. That's the usual thing you do, right? So there's something in this, making the costumes and getting the show ready and rehearsing and all that. And now everything stops. So it is, but I
like to think that following the pandemic, everyone will try to create some new momentum. So we'll be happy to be part of it. And we invested in our home studio, and we are working on new songs, trying to keep creative, spending a lot of time with the kids.
Yes.
Yes, but we're happy parents and trying to be a full-time musician, although we cannot tour.
Yeah, well, it's again, in this business, as long as I've been, I always tell people, if you can make a living as a musician, then I take my hat off to you, because it's not easy. It's I don't think it's ever been easy, but this situation certainly hasn't made it any easier, and I God willing, we'll get through this before too long.
Yes.
The term "future folk" that was thrown at you by some reviewer or magazine, it's an interesting phrase. What do you think of that? Future folk.
Well, I like it because folk music, although folk means like the people, but it also has an aspect of being from influence from the past. So we are very fond of our heritage and all the tradition bearers that preceded us, and we like to do something that will, like, this music always went through time and made it to the future. So we want to make it go to the future again. So try to make it relevant for these days and try to inspire more people to do music with it in the future as well. So I think that's a very good name for it.
It's a good name for it. Well, what do you see yourselves doing in 5 years? Where do you see your careers being?
Oh, wow. Well, we hope we still do music in 5 years. So that means that festivals are back and all that stuff. Of course, we have already another project with the electro-trad music that we want to do. So we're going to work on that, another theme of album that we're excited about. So we're going to work on that. And having released another album would be great.
Yeah,
should happen in 5 years, of course. Yes.
Maybe an EP first. We'll see.
First. Well, the industry is
we'll try to
so
adapt
fast.
to the streaming
Yes.
world, which is more song and EP. We don't necessarily need to do full albums anymore. So we're thinking about how to adapt to this new scheme and try to do our best with that.
Yeah, but still doing music I've always done that, and I don't see really myself doing anything else. So.
Yeah.
Well, I admire you, and especially trying to be parents and professional musicians at the same time.
I was gonna say, in 5 years, I hope for more independence from my kids. I hope more me time.
Well, it is. I think what you're doing is very exciting, and I hope that we get to see you here in Toronto before too long, and that the friends you make here at Global Toronto will welcome you to new parts of the world as well.
We really hope so.
Yes.
Now, you guys wanted a little bit of time to do some live music to send us towards the end.
Oh, just to send you to the end of the day, it's actually the beginning of the day, to the rest of the journey.
So you incorporate
the energy to make the full day of Global Toronto.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
See you soon.
Thank you, Mélisande and Alexandre. Here we are in Global Toronto 2020. I'm Alan Davis. It's a great pleasure to have you guys here, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you, likewise.
And I hand you off back. We'll see you again soon here at Global Toronto. I'll be back again at noon with Amoye. Thank you very much for tuning in.